The origins of the Feitherans are lost to time. Really? I prefer to think I have a pretty good memory for an endless as old as I am. What is known is that the Sakak people peacefully coexisted, even mingled, with the Feitherans. And so have the Kalalit people. Recently, Osoro, the daughter of Wala, has inherited leadership. According to anthropologist Fred Cantrell, Feitheran religion references a lost priesthood among the stars. This priesthood worshipped the marriage between the Nightwing and the Phoenix. This priesthood was called the Shi'ar. Do you protect the travelers of the night? If so, you might have a future as a Fist of Khonshu. In his past, Khonshu was exiled to Earth 2 as a powerless beggar abandoned in the Sahara overnight. Freezing to death, he was taken in by nighttime travelers whose kindness would affect the god forever. When these travelers were ambushed and murdered for what little they possessed, Khonshu smote them all and vowed to protect the travelers of the night. His memories and might were then restored by Master Order, who then gifted him a helm. Over the centuries, Khonshu has channeled the helm's power into various agents. Marilyn Moonlight, Moon King, and Moon Man and Lunar Lad. Perhaps Revenant of the Mystery Men was also an agent. Currently, Mark Spector is the Fist of Khonshu. However, Mark might soon be replaced with none other than himself. The Apocalypse War. Fire pits, genocide, and exodus upended ethnicity, economics, and politics. Millions were rendered among the so-called stateless. The Global Repatriation Council seeks to repatriate the stateless. However, the Council is the pawn of the Bureau of Normalcy. The real end goal is to sculpt the world into resembling an idealized past. The stateless are conscripted into rebuilding, restaffing, and repopulation. Sanctuary districts corral them for an economic experiment. An experiment in no poverty, no sickness, and many luxuries. And all that is asked of the stateless is to not interfere with management decisions. Companions are assigned to those with privilege cards. Corporate tutors teach that comfort is freedom. Physical media is denied. Digital knowledge goes missing. Forced relocations and separations are common. And numbers are culled in a game invented by Obikai Fix. Recently, a global strike has occurred. Borders are being forcibly reopened. And a leader has emerged. Carly Morgenthau. 1961. Paranoiac Randall Dowling contacts an alternate hypertime, one where the moon landing occurred that same year. Randall figured that if he could contact hypertime, then the Soviets might do the same. Either America should possess such a boon, or no one. Gathering co-conspirators, Randall then hoarded enough Eternium to raid and then prune hypertime. They even utilized raided technology to gain superpowers. The four then clashed with the challengers of the unknown when an anonymous ally intervened. Neither the challengers nor the four were ever seen again. Recently, the Challengers Mountain Museum received a visitor, DEO agent Elijah Snow. He was investigating historical mentions of something called an Eternium Vault. Perusing the museum, Elijah notices the Eternium clock. Funny thing about a clock is that you can move its hands around like a dial, like that of a combination lock. The Feitherans diaspora resulted from fleeing the grasp of the Reach. However, no distance could exceed the grasp of the Reach for long. In desperation, the Shi'ar priesthood prayed to the endless Nightwing. Their prayers were answered. The endless Nightwing whispered of the Tree of Shadows that grew on Clintar in the null space of the Dark Force dimension. The Enigma Force nourished the tree's crystals, enabling organic and inorganic beings to swap traits. The Shi'ar fashioned the crystals into amulets, as parasitic as the Reach scarabs. Thus, the Fraternity of Raptors was born. Each Raptor is tasked with the great purpose of freeing Luke, the Feitheran homeworld. However, one amulet, Razor, challenges the great purpose. It is said the best ideas last forever. The worst are long forgotten. If the Nightwing whispers ideas, will the Raptors last forever? Or be long forgotten? Once they were the Galgai, a tribe whose females were slaughtered by the Amazons. The Galgai were then corralled as breeding stock. The Amazons would raise the female infants. The The Galgai would raise the males. When Amazonia was sacrificed during the Apocalypse War, the Galgai escaped into their ancestral Caucasus homeland. There, they carved out an enclave in what became Derain. It was then Zeus made an offer the Gargarians could not refuse: save what remained of the world. Meanwhile, in Gateway City, the Amazons reinvent themselves. Formerly San Francisco, Gateway City has rebuilt itself into a refuge for the stateless. As advocates for antebellum call for a return to normality, Gateway City resists. Checkmate spies on the residents day and night. Blackhawks clash with the centum, and corporations war for commercial footholds. All the while, Queen Hippolyta imparts wisdom at her eponymous school. I prefer the city's thriving music scene. Have you heard of the Black Vinyls? They can smite, man. They can smite. During the Apocalypse War, Alan Scott became a war hero. While not a soldier, he consolidated all surviving communication outlets into the Global Broadcasting Corporation. Without the GBC, worldwide coordination of information and resources would have been impossible. Afterward, Alan was approached by the Bureau of Normalcy. The Bureau informed him that society required a return to normality following such seismic change. If he refused, then the GBC would be dissolved and its employees rendered stateless. Alan was then assigned a wife and twin children. Furthermore, he was forbidden from ever seeing his love, Sam Joe, a global rail executive, ever again. Secretly, Alan conspired to expose the Bureau and to plot his wife and children's escape. While uploading incriminating data, his wife, Rose Canton, threatened the children. Alan barely survived Rose's alter ego, Thorn. They escaped aboard one of Sam's residential trains bound for China. The Bureau was presented with a situation. So, a deal was struck. A narrative was spun. It was reported Sam's vote on the executive board deprioritized global rail maintenance. Simultaneously, while en route through China, Alan's train derailed. Crawling from the wreckage, he called for Jenny Lynn and Todd through the inky night. Touching an antique lantern thrown from the onboard museum, a living green flame ignited. The flame compelled him to recite the lantern keeper's oath. "And I shall shed my light over dark evil, for the dark things cannot stand the light of the green lantern." 1942, Algeria. Fred, Pedro, and Slim were on air patrol when they observed strange caravans near the Atlas Mountains. They were meant to watch for Axis activity, not roaming Bedouins. However, they reported no women, children, or herd animals were in the caravan. Plus, it was summer, not winter. So, why were the locals migrating like that? The three became a laughingstock. Determined to prove their competence, the three went AWOL and flew deep into the mountains. There, they were targeted by drones, firing heat seekers. The three woke up on a mountain trail with no scratches on them. They soon discovered they lacked hunger, thirst, or fatigue. When they happened upon another strange caravan, they learned they could become invisible at will. Following the caravan, they discovered Operation Broca. The mountains were the headquarters of the Golden Claw. Partnered with Nazi scientists, the Golden Claw was extracting Eternium to forge a time machine. Fred, Pedro, and Slim sabotaged the facility with ghostly powers. However, their powers were negated when touching the broker. Figuring the facility was under attack, one scientist commandeered the broker and vanished. Afterward, life and death appeared to explain. Due to local Eternium radiation, their bodies and souls were dislocated in time. Neither alive nor dead, they were the Ghost Patrol.